Okay. There's a secret society.
There is?
Yes. A secret society of people who've graduated from my class. There's been hundreds of them. And obviously they've opened up ice cream places all over the world. And as a graduate, you're entitled, this isn't a plug for the class. I forget why I'm doing this, but it's not a plug for the class. Oh yes, now I remember. There's as a graduate, you get accepted to participate in discussions among all these ice cream people. And it's a kind of a unique group because these are people who've come with nothing, no background, and then gotten to a store or a cart or a shared location, anything. And I read it all the time. You guys just joined it, right? And I was reading recently about somebody brought up a topic, and the topic was, how long do you fluff your ice cream? And I really couldn't believe my eyes. And then I read, and people are responding saying, well, I fluff for a minute, I fluff for 5 minutes. And I went into the bathroom and tried to hang myself. But the rope broke, and unfortunately I'm here to tell you about it. You know what she means, right? She meant after you turn the refrigeration off, if you're making ice cream, that's all right, we'll edit you out, don't worry. How long do you let the machine keep going so that your quantity that you extract becomes greater? Obviously, picture a bowl with whipped cream in it, with cream in it. The longer you whip it, the more whipped cream you're going to get. May not taste better because you're adding a lot of air to it. And this is exactly what they're doing, some people. They're trying to squeeze another half a gallon out of their product by adding air to it, right? Air.
Yeah.
And that's ludicrous. Don't we want our ice cream to be the most creamy, the most dense product we can? When I was growing up, Breyer's ice cream was king of the hill. And you would get a half gallon, and it was so creamy, so good. Well, you know what happened. Breyer's today is not the same. Ooh, I almost said garbage.
Well, you can say garbage. It's pretty awful.
Breyer's today is all air. If you take a half gallon and let it sit out, in 20 minutes, it'll be that. It'll be just a little puddle of milk. And they did it because, obviously, on 500 million gallons a week that they make, they want to make more money. But I just showed you that the difference, let's say instead of 6 gallons that you get out of your machine, you get 7, which that's a lot. That's a lot. That's 15%. That's not going to happen. But let's say you get 7 by fluffing it. Do you make a whole lot more money? You don't really make a whole lot more, but now your product isn't what you wanted it to be in the beginning. It's not that creamy consistency anymore. It's got more air in it. So, and I was just reading this, and I'm astonished at that. We talked about that. I just don't get it. So fluffing, what's the real term for it?
Overrun.
Overrun, right.
It's against the law to go above 100% overrun.
Well, they're not going 100%. I figure they're going, if they're getting, I don't think they can get an extra gallon out of it.
Well, you're pulling close to 100, aren't you?
I don't know.
You haven't checked.
I don't know. When it's ready, I take it out.
All right. I'd say by the consistency you pulled out, you're at somewhere around 70, 75.
I figure 70.
Which
yes.
I think is ideal.
Yes, sir.
The consistency difference between, say, Haagen-Dazs and Breyers.
Oh, big difference. But Haagen-Dazs is running 16% butterfat.
Okay.
Breyers is what? Breyers got to be 10.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the Haagen-Dazs is very dense, but it's a whole different market.
And
so
which would you rather eat? Of course. Eat the Haagen-Dazs.
Right. So that would.
That's the difference that we're talking about. You know, I'm trying to make Haagen-Dazs, and they're trying to make Breyers.
Well, Jeff, it's interesting. The same thing happened to soft ice cream machines a number of years ago. Back in the 70s and all, everything was what we called gravity-fed machines. They put only 40% air in, 40% overrun, which is very low. And we built machines like that for the Navy. That's what Carvel was. That's what Dairy Queen was. And then they came along and they added pressurized pumps to the machines. And they said, instead of getting 40%, we can get you up to 80%. Look at all the profit you're going to get.
Yeah.
And what the store owner who fell for that wasn't realizing was, yes, I'm making 60% more per soft ice cream cone, but my line has gone down from 20 people in line to 2 because the product tastes awful. And the public just disappeared.
Actually, I have to add, the product doesn't taste awful, but it's not the same product. The flavor's still there. It's spread out over a little more. Yeah, you don't get that bang. I think we all want to strive to make the best product we can. That's number one. When we're deciding how we're going to do this business, number one, make the best product. Number two, charge a fair price, fair for you, fair for them. And number three, treat everybody great. And that's it. And then it's yours to screw up after that. But that will carry you the whole way if you want. Make the best product. And that's number one, make the best product. And they're taking the best product and they're cheapening it. I don't get it. Yes?
How do you prevent hard ice cream? You got soft serve and you get that and you notice how soft it is when you...
Well, first let's clarify this. Soft serve is not ice cream. Soft serve is powder and water, right?
It's soft serve. It's below 10% fat. So it's not ice cream.
It's not ice cream. You
No.
can add a lot of flavor to it, but it's still not ice cream.
Yeah, but go on. What was the question?
As hard ice cream, like ice cream you take is kind of gritty.
No,
Cone.
this isn't gritty, is it?
No.
This is hard ice cream. Everything we made here is hard ice cream. We just haven't put it through the freezing phase to make it harder to scoop, but it's not soft serve. It's coming out in a soft content, but it's genuine hard ice cream. This process is no different than what my grandfather was using back in 1903. This is called a rock, salt, and ice machine. And what you do is you put your dairy product into a cylinder, you surround it with rock, salt, and ice because ice melts and freezes at 32 degrees. By adding salt, we get it down to about 17 degrees, and then you turn a crank for 40 minutes. And that's homemade ice cream. A batch freezer is doing the same thing. We turned it sideways so we could get it out. Instead of salt and ice, it's Freon gas going around the cylinder, but it's the same process. It's homemade ice cream. This takes 45 minutes. That takes 8 minutes. But it is genuine, old-fashioned hard ice cream.
Yes, sir.
Soft serve at 10%, is that ice cream?
I don't know. Do they make soft serve 10%?
Technically, according to the government, it would qualify as far as fat content. But when they put together a soft ice cream mix, think about it. It's got to leave Jeff's place. It's got to go out to your BMW, and it's got to sit there without melting all over your leather seats. And so they put a lot of stabilizers and chemicals in there to make it a slower melting product. So I don't call it ice cream in the least because we don't have those worries. We're not trying to make it a slow melt. We're trying to make it delicious. So I have no time for soft ice cream machines whatsoever. I spoke to a lady yesterday who is building a truck, and she wanted to put in a soft serve as well as the CB350. And I said, I'll tell you what, she was adamant that she wanted the soft serve. They're $25,000 starting point. And I said, I'll make you a deal. Leave the $25,000 in your bank. In the truck, figure out where you're going to put the soft serve machine and run the electric lines to it. And then don't buy it. Because with our batch freezer, you've got Italian ice, you've got homemade ice cream of any air content you want. You've got gelato, you've got sherbet, you've got cream ice, you've got frozen lemonade, you've got custard. You have so many products, unless every third person walking into your business says, you don't have soft serve, and they walk away, then okay, I'm wrong. I'll put the machine in. But I'm not wrong. It's not going to happen.
And I always profess, and I'm sure you've seen it, that on this earth there are 6 billion people. And whether you're in East Asia or South Africa or South America, every one of those 6 billion people like one thing, ice cream. You could, whether they're 6 months old living in Zimbabwe or 106 living in San Diego, they like ice cream. And if you open up any place, all you need are those 2 words outside your store, open the store and they'll come. It's your job to keep them coming back and to keep them there. But ice cream will attract everybody. I don't think you can say the same thing about soft serve or frozen yogurt or gelato or any of the other junk that's being put out there. But ice cream, they'll come. And your customer base is literally everybody in the whole world, everybody. Can't say that about anything else. Can't say that about women's shoes, computer parts, cars, nothing. But ice cream, every single human being on this planet likes ice cream.
I have an interesting idea for you as far as looking for a location. I was talking to a couple the other day, and they're about to take over a shoe store. And the landlord is going to give them X amount of dollars to fix it up. And I said, this shoe store is going to be very expensive to convert because you're going to need electric lines, you're going to need plumbing, you're going to need a lot of different things. So that location, forgetting quality of location, just that physical building compared to what used to be, say, a diner or a luncheonette or something, the luncheonette is going to be less expensive to move into. So here's something that I've seen. Back in the early 70s, the Environmental Protection Agency changed the law and said you can no longer have these metal gas tanks in the ground, 5,000 gallons of gas in the ground at your gas station. They're breaking, they're deteriorating, they're leaking, they're polluting the environment. And they said, take them out. Well, it costs about $50,000 for a gas station to take those tanks out, so a lot of them went out of business. And the company owned stores, like if Mobil owned the store or Exxon. If it wasn't a great location, they just shut it down and let it sit there. After 20 years or 15 years, the EPA got tired of trying to get people to take tanks out of the ground that wouldn't take them out of the ground, and they set up a program where they would pay to get them out of the ground. We turned those into ice cream parlors. You've got a 2-bay gas station, so you've got big glass doors, you've got a lot of open space, you've got a small office, you have your own parking where the pumps were. They made great locations. So I look around today and I say, thank goodness yogurt is dead. Yogurt was a nice product, but it was nice if you were in Savannah, Georgia and you were the only store. But when other people looked around and said, hey, he's making $1,000 a day on yogurt, I think I'll open one. And someone else opens ones. In no time at all, we had 10 frozen yogurt stores in Savannah, Georgia. The population didn't change. There weren't enough people to support 10 frozen yogurt stores. So guess what? They all went out of business. And my customer, Leopold's Ice Cream, remains, as he has since 1925, selling hard ice cream. But those locations, the poor person before you, and I feel sorry for him, they put so much money into electric and plumbing and lighting and maybe even some countertops. And they went belly up because it was the wrong product in the wrong place. And those stores now have been sitting for 2 or 3 years, and so the landlord's starting to soften up. They used to be, no, I've got a great location, I'm not dropping my price. The prices are coming down. And a lot of times the national chains put those stores in good locations. So in your travels, take a look at a yogurt store and see if there's an abandoned one that maybe you could walk in and save a lot of money on opening up there. You know, even their signs, leave their signs up, just change the name. So it's something to think about that. I think they'll make some great locations and are making great locations. I've done a number of them. What do you think?
Well, I did the other thing. I opened up where there was a gym and a real estate office, and I took those and turned it into mine. Now, I didn't have a floor drain, and I didn't have a big plumbing experience there. I had to install that. But if you start a business on a limited amount of money, and I'm talking 15 and you're in, $15,000, I can set you up in business in a week. And on the 8th day, you're making money. You just equip it the way you need it. When I opened up, I had a 9-inch sink in a back room of a gym. And that's how I used to have to wash everything. 9-inch sink, it's like this, right? Right. But, then you make money and you build out, and eventually I took over the gym. Now I've got 3,800 square feet, and I'm trying to get the store next to me. But what he said is interesting. I have my eye on a gas station that's closed, and it's been closed for a few years now. It's angled on a corner.
Oh, they're nice.
Oh man!
On an angle on a
oh,
corner,
God,
they're beautiful.
And the pumps are gone. They took the pumps away, and all you've got is this perfect store with a big parking and everything, and it's right on the main road. And I'm stopping myself from calling up and talking about it because I know it's an easy deal right in. So anyway, but anything can make a store. You can start with 700 square feet. The kitchen that I make all the product in mine is 56 square feet. It's 8 feet by 7 feet. It's not a big area.
Stores are shrinking. The average store 15 years ago that I was working with was 1,900 to 2,300 square feet.
And you have, how many square feet do you have, Tammy?
About 700.
700
Yeah,
with
which I
no
would love,
seating area.
which I would love. So what happened is pretty interesting, and it's why I have developed a line of smaller machines, not only to hit lower price points, but the physical size of the machine. What happens is you want to open up a restaurant, and I don't know, let's say the rent was $2,000 a month. Well, now the rent has gone to $3,000 a month. So the owner of the restaurant says, I need more tables. There's an old expression, the money's made at the tables, not in the kitchen. And what it means is, if I've got 10 tables, I can make so much money a night. If I've got 15 tables, I can make more money at night. So I put more tables out where you are, and I've only got so much square feet, so guess what shrinks? The chef's kitchen. We make his kitchen smaller and smaller and smaller because it's costing money. He's the one who's making the product, but the money's made out there at the tables. More tables, more money. So they look at the 24 and 12, and they say, which they used to buy, and say, it's just taking up too much space. But if I get a CB350 with a stand, I can tuck it away in a corner, or even a 200, I can put it away in a corner and make the 2 or 3 products that I want every night, and it's not taking up a lot of space. So that was some of the genesis of these smaller machines. So the 700 square feet used to be unheard of. Now I tell people, I don't know if it was you or someone said the difference between 700 square feet and 2,000 square feet is a whole lot of mopping. And that's about it. I'd rather have the 700 square feet. It'd be like the British. I mean, the British, you go down the street and the British are online, what they call a queue. They get online just because there's a line. You know, we do it in New York for the soup Nazi. You know, people get online just because the guy has got a line out in front of his store. And I would love to have a line in front of a store because there's no seating or no room in the store. People will look at the line and go, it must be good.
I pay people to stand in line outside my store.
Yeah, that's why I don't come up. You don't pay
$5
enough.
a night.
I wanted
$5 a
$7.
night. They stand out there. Looks good. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about, like blast freezing once you make it? To
No, he's all wrong.
Difference of opinions.
Difference of opinion, or long knives are going to come
Well,
out.
I'll tell you the story, and this is true almost word for word. I know Steve, 6 years or something, and way back when we met, he would say to me, you know, I can take the ice cream out of my blast freezer, put it into a, what do you call them, blast freezer hardening cabinet,
Yeah.
and
Put it
then
into a serving
in
cabinet.
10 hours, I can serve it. I can sell it. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I can take the ice cream out of your batch freezer and put it in a cheap Sam's Club freezer, and 10 hours later, I can sell it. And then I said, how much are those things? Well, how much are they? $6,000?
Yeah.
So there, I've just saved all of you $6,000. You don't need it.
And I will tell you that, go ahead.
And by the way, it's a single-purpose piece of equipment. You can't store stuff in there, but you can put stuff in there for a transition period.
Of how long?
No, he's wrong. You can store, if you want to buy a 50-pound bag of walnuts, put them in the freezer. They won't deteriorate. But let me
Put
say
them in a Sam's Club freezer, $150.
Let me say my part about it. You can follow what Jeff says, and you'll do fine. You'll be okay. But I guarantee you, 99% of you in this room, because I've heard from all your customers, that we kind of joke about it, and it doesn't come back to you because you won't allow me on your secret location.
Go ahead, finish.
They've all bought hardening cabinets because I'm a manufacturer, and what I do is what Jeff is doing, to put it in simple terms, and it's not wrong. But let's get that straight. If he was building ice cream machines, he would be buying 3 sheets of stainless steel today to make a machine, and then tomorrow he'd buy 3 more sheets, and the day after he'd buy 3 more sheets. That's kind of costly and kind of busy work to do. I buy 2 tractor trailer loads worth of stainless steel,
well,
and now let me finish. Okay. Now I've got enough in here for 2 weeks or 10 days worth of stainless steel to build my machines. It's called inventory. So, Jeff, how many of those freezer cabinets do you have? Because you used to have 1.
I have 13.
13. He's got 13 115-volt little cabinets all whirring away. Duke Energy comes by every 3 months and gives them another award for their best customer. You know, only Tampa International uses more electricity.
Wrong.
It's totally inefficient what he's doing, and he has 13 of them because he won't buy a hardening cabinet, so he's got to have 13 because they can't keep up the job.
No,
that's why it's 13.
The reason I have that is because I won't have a walk-in. This has nothing to do with the hardening cabinet. Mm-hmm. A hardening cabinet is so you can sell your product that night, right?
If I had 13 of those, I'd buy a walk-in.
Forget that.
I'd buy a walk-in.
I won't have a walk-in. Why won't I have a walk-in? Why won't I have a
If
walk-in?
it goes broke or if it breaks.
Sure. I don't want all my eggs in one basket.
How many cars? Well, you don't count. How many cars do you drive every day? Do you have 1 car?
No, I actually have 2.
Okay, well, the average person drives 1 car. My wife drives 1 car. She doesn't keep a backup car in case it breaks down. Yes,
But if it did, if that freezer broke down
she
and
would have
all my stuff is in the walk-in,
most people
then
would
what
have,
do I do?
People would have insurance on it.
Insurance, your customer doesn't want to care that you have insurance, you're going to get paid
Have
back.
any of your cabinets-
They come for ice cream
any
and
of
you
your
don't have
cabinets-
any.
Have any of your cabinets broken down?
No.
No. Okay.
One last week.
All right, 1. So
Last week,
after
one
all the years
freezer
I've known
broke
you.
down.
So what are the odds?
I'm not playing the odds.
Okay.
It's just
It's
efficient.
all about inventory
well, let me
is what
say
it comes
this.
down to.
13 freezers at about $140. 1 walk-in freezer at about $9,000. You tell me.
Your electric bill is through
Oh,
the
that's
roof.
nonsense.
It's
That
through
is
the
absolute
roof.
nonsense, the electric bill. It doesn't mean a hill of beans. It's just like your ice cream. Instead of paying $430 for your electric, because I have those freezers, I pay $480. Who cares?
All right,
It's
I got
nothing.
a challenge for you.
Go ahead.
On this secret society that you have, which I'm not invited to, put a question out there and ask them how many have bought other than those cabinets.
How many
for
people
freezing?
still think the world is flat?
Ask your people. You trained them. How many people have bought those cabinets and have 13 of them like you did?
How many of these are going to buy them? How many of these people are going to buy them after
Most
being
of 'em.
educated?
Most of them. And
Are
I'm
you?
telling you, within a year, that they're going to outrun it.
What do you
Yes,
mean,
you had a
outrun?
question over here.
No, I just.
Oh, you were just stretching? Okay.
I think 2 pieces of equipment exist solely for the manufacturer's profit. And I think one of them is a blast freezer, and the other one is the biggest hoax of all, and that's a dipping cabinet. Those 2 pieces of equipment, which you're looking at more than $10,000, take that $10,000, put it in the bank, buy a bigger machine, start your business. You don't need them. Now, when I started, I didn't need
You
them.
put the ice cream on the dipping cabinet. Just in the chest and take it out?
Holy cow, what a revolutionary idea.
Well, to you.
Do you want to hear why I'm going to tell you in 30 seconds, and then you'll never consider buying a dipping cabinet. Okay?
Excuse me.
You ready? Okay. We'll edit that out. A dipping cabinet. 16 tubs there, right? With something called a sneeze guard. Now, what's the purpose of the dipping cabinet? So people can see the ice cream.
You don't have to have a glass. It could be
Okay, but you want them to see the ice creams. And that's why dipping cabinets are there. Why do you want them to see the ice creams? So they can come up, stand on line, and do this. What's in that one? Oh, can I taste that one? That's right.
Okay.
Can I try? Now, wait 1 second. Now, when they do decide on one after the line is building, All right, I'll have that. So now you open it up, and the biggest problem with ice cream is air. Now you open it up, air is shooting through all those 16 tubs, forming little ice crystals, because if you're lucky enough to be busy, that thing's opening and closing 100 times in a night. More. In my place, it would open and close 200 times a night. All that air is forming crystals on your ice cream. And you're not going to serve that, are you? The next morning you come in, there's ice crystals, all that white stuff. You've seen it in dipping cabinets. They look disgusting. You're not going to serve that. And now you've defeated your whole purpose, because people are walking by going, All
right.
And how about when it drips in between the tubs and all that white holes are all disgusting with dripping stuff?
You clean. Like a normal business. If
Kids
you spill
don't
on the
clean.
floor. All right,
Kids don't clean.
hold on. We're going to do a live
Kids don't
demonstration.
scrape down the sides like they should every 5 minutes, but you're letting air in. And the last thing is, homemade ice cream is not pretty. It's bland looking. It's beige. Because we don't add, it's not like you go into Baskin-Robbins and there's blue ice cream, blue, and there's red
So you
ice
don't
cream,
use a
and
visual
there's
dipping
pink
cabinet.
ice cream.
You don't use a visual dipping cabinet. You use the old-fashioned floppy door. They work better. I need a volunteer to come up and prove Jeff wrong. Come on.
Oh, you
Here we
can't
go.
prove me wrong.
Sure I can. Here is ice cream that was made 2 days ago.
Yeah, look where it is. It's up to the top, and you had a cover on it.
Don't worry about that. That's not the point.
It's
That's not the point.
But you leave
Hold
that
on.
on here.
Quiet down for a minute.
We have to do the
We have a live demonstration. Ice cream that was made 2 days ago. You have to turn over here so they can see. 2 days ago, and it's in his chest freezer. Go ahead, scoop it. What are you, weak? What's the matter with you? I should have picked someone stronger.
He knows that.
It's real hard.
hard.
He
And
knows
it's only
not.
2 days old.
Do you think we have the answer for that?
It's only 2
I
days
won't
old.
even answer you. Abby, tell them what to
You're
do.
supposed to let it sit out and thaw.
They temper
Oh,
it.
I'm going to let it sit out and melt all the
No.
way around the
you
edges.
temper
You
it.
temper it.
If I had it in a dipping cabinet, I wouldn't have to do that.
If you had a dipping cabinet, have ice all over the top.
No, I wouldn't.
And it would taste like the other flavor next to it because they dripped into it.
You dip out of a cabinet like this?
No, I dip out of my gallon containers.
Where do they sit?
Where are they sitting?
They're in the freezers. Behind the counter, there's 2, 3 freezers. And when people order the ice cream off of my gorgeous menu board, beautiful menu board, all different colors, all different descriptions, now they don't walk up, stand and clog the line and say, can I try that? Because no, because the next person is then going to say, well, I want to try that one. And then they're going to try that one, and the line is building and building. And eventually people are going to leave your store or not come back because I don't want to wait in line for ice cream.
The tubs are in a freezer that you have to open up to get a scoop of
Correct,
vanilla
correct.
from
But
somebody.
they're all closed.
Right.
They all have covers
You have
on
to
them.
open that freezer to get into it.
Of course.
So air gets in then too.
No, the tubs are all closed.
Okay, Jeff, take the challenge. Take the challenge. Put it up there, and we'll discuss it
Okay,
in 2
okay,
months.
okay.
Folks, tune in 2 months when we have the next class, and Jeff will give us the results. of
Don't buy a
how
dipping
many
cabinet.
people of his
Don't buy
how
one.
many of his customers have bought hardening cabinets?
Yes.
I wonder if you're busy, 'cause my shop is pretty busy, and I have kids that work there, and we're going to scoop ice cream like every 3 seconds, so that's open, they don't put lids back on and stuff like that.
Why not?
They're too lazy.
Oh, no, you don't dip from there. All you do is open it, take your gallon out, put it on the counter, dip your ice cream, put your gallon back. Let me tell you, we see 200 people in 4 hours. That's working pretty good, right?
How much ice cream do you sell at 4 in the afternoon?
Nothing, we're not open.
How about 2 in the afternoon?
We're not open.
Well, then you've got all that ice cream that hasn't tempered up yet. She's open from 11 in the morning till 10 at night. You're the exception.
No, by opening and closing the freezer all night, the ice cream is tempering. Oh, you're opening it and closing it, the temperature in your freezer is rising all night long.
13 dipping
By-
cabinets. 13 chest
No,
freezers.
that's inventory in the back. All you need is one of those up front.
All you need is one hardening cabinet like over there, half that size, and you don't have that problem. You don't run 13
Waste
of
of
them.
money. Let me tell you something. I got into this
And that
business on a
Corvette
very
wasn't?
limited amount of money, and we're doing very well. So do what I do. Make the money. Don't give it to these people who don't warrant it.
The price point on your gallon containers. What the price points for those gallon containers versus those 2.5, 3-gallon containers.
We don't sell gallons. We have basically two sizes, $6 and $8.
Right, but if an individual wanted to get the containers for gallon containers,
$50.
Yeah, don't sell anything larger than a pint container for out the door. Because it's the Haagen-Dazs method of doing it. Right now they're $5.13 for a pint. But I see pint prices going up, $6, $8, no problem at all. Let's call it $7. A pint of ice cream is $7, and I'm going to run in the store, pick it up, and take it home. I'm worth it. I'm worth $7. I had a bad day. I'm going to drown myself in ice cream. I had a great day. I beat Jeff in the competition. I'm going to reward myself. $7, worth it. Now I sell a half gallon, $14, $13.99. Well, gee, I don't know if I'm worth that. Maybe I better just buy some Breyers so I don't get in trouble at home for spending that much money on me. And that's really the rationale behind it. If your containers for takeout, you don't do takeout, do you?
Well, if they want to take it, they can take it.
They can take it. But otherwise, if you're doing home takeout containers, do it in pints only, because I know a pint isn't enough ice cream because I'm going to eat half of it on the way home. And I got to have some for my wife, so I'm going to bring home 2 pints. So I'm getting the mint chip, she's getting the coconut. So you'll buy 2 pints, but you won't buy a quart. You're open from 6 till 10. You sell alcohol ice cream. It's
No,
completely
we sell
different
all
world.
different kinds of ice cream.
But you sell alcohol ice cream too. It's a whole different world.
So 50 people an hour, roughly 1 customer a minute. That's fine, 1 customer a minute. But if I had a dipping cabinet and I tried to do that, we're going to get clogged up with what's in that, how do you make that? Can I have a sample of this? Can I have a sample of that? Can I have one of those? Can I mix 2 flavors in a thing? Can I put 3 flavors in a cup? How about 4 flavors in a cup?
And if you were the traditional store and you needed to serve...
I am a traditional
You're not
store.
a traditional store. If you were a traditional store and you had to sell 5 portions at 2 o'clock and 9 portions at 4 o'clock...
I'd close my doors, because that's not cost efficient.
That's not what they're doing. Yes.
Yeah, we have a store that's been an ice cream shop that's been in business for 14 years, and we're open from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. And we have 30 flavors of hard ice cream that I'm buying from a different brand, which is why we're here, because we want to make our own. But, so we have the dipping cabinet, but they can't come in. So we're an ice cream stand, people come up to our window, our freezers are in the back, and we don't have the glass, it's just the flip top. And we put covers on them, but I know for us, your method certainly wouldn't work. Not that I wouldn't want it, it wouldn't, because I have people who are like, I want a scoop of strawberry, I want a scoop of vanilla, I want a scoop of blueberry. It'd be like holding the cone, pulling out the tubs. How do you make that work?
You stop it tomorrow morning.
You don't mix
Tomorrow
flavors.
morning, there's no mixing of flavors in your store.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Oh,
No.
yeah, it would.
See,
It would.
everybody...
It wouldn't work.
You know why it would work? If you made your own ice cream, and the ice cream was spectacular. When you make your own ice cream, you're not going to be hip to mixing flavors. You won't want that to happen. Because when somebody says, I want my butter pecan, and can I have a scoop of strawberry next to it, you're going to cringe. Because they're going to have strawberry melting into butter pecan.
That's some of the combinations that people want, but I don't know, I'm just...
How many other people in this room are wearing a tie-dye shirt?
Nobody.
You are unique. You are unique to yourself.
No, I think it's really unique. It's just I'm looking at our business and I'm like, there's no way.
Of course there is.
How I could make that.
Of course there is. Is your dipping cabinet on wheels?
No.
Well, get some wheels under it, wheel it out to the dumpster. And in its place,
Tell me where the dumpster is so I can go get it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Taking Jeff's van to go get it.
in its place,
VW van.
put a nice, inexpensive, how much is that dipping cabinet? How much are dipping cabinets?
2,000.
How much?
2,000.
Yeah,
2,000.
You can get over 2,000 brand new. That's where we have.
And how many openings?
Huh?
How many openings? 16? 8? So every time you open it, all 8 are getting...
No, they're flop doors. Only 2 are exposed.
Yeah. And we
So the air doesn't get in there?
No. You had a question back there.
I wondered how much competition Jeff is.
Everybody has. I have Haagen-Dazs about 1.5 miles away from me.
Oh, they're
and
starving.
I have Peach Wave about a half a mile away, which is frozen yogurt, Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and then I have Ambrosia, which is near the Haagen-Dazs, selling soft serve. So I have everything right near me. Doesn't matter. I make the best ice cream in the world, and
that's why
everybody
people come.
knows it. Everybody knows that I make the best ice cream in the world, and you will too, if you take my course. You will too.
Should we do a book plug?
Really, it's not hard to make the best ice cream in the world. I put mine right up there with Haagen-Dazs, except that I have better flavors, or more varieties of flavors. What's your question?
Again, the gallon containers.
Forget that I store the ice cream in? Yes.
Do you?
Cambro. It's in your book. The book you bought, it's in there. There's all sorts of stuff about equipment and suppliers and supplies, but Cambro are the good ones.
With the 2.5 gallon containers that's sitting over there, nowadays the price point for an empty container with the lid is like $5.
Oh, more than that
And
for
where
that
you
one.
calling? Where you calling from? Philadelphia. Well, we can't sell them. You have to go to.
You talking about those containers?
Right.
No, you call
Restaurant
up
Depot.
Plastic Can in Leominster, Massachusetts, and you're buying them wholesale direct from the manufacturer.
Or just go get them at Restaurant Depot.
Or Restaurant Depot. They're not $5.
Restaurant Depot has
No
every
way.
size, every lid, easy.
Yeah. Back. Yes.
Plastic better than
The plastic is reusable, and I find that they last 1.5 years before they break up. Cardboard is one time and out. So they're great for wholesale, because if you go into a restaurant and say, now I want my tubs back and I expect you to wash them and store them in this tiny kitchen, they're going to throw you out on your ear. This is why you can outdo Haagen-Dazs easily if you're catering or selling to restaurants, because the Haagen-Dazs salesman comes in and he says, you had to buy 14 tubs, and we deliver once every 2 weeks. And the chef goes, where am I going to store 14 tubs, and how do I know 8 days from now what flavor I want? You come in and say, we have a minimum order of 2 tubs. We can deliver every 3rd day. Oh, and by the way, obnoxious executive chef who knows everything on earth, tell us if you have any ideas on how we can improve our product, and we'll make it just for you. You'll get their business. Here's one other quick thing. The space that tub takes up, these gelato pans, are really pretty good. I didn't really like gelato pans. But I buy these. These are supposedly disposable, once and out. I use them about 5 or 6 times. Gelato supply. But if you've got one round tub in the chef's freezer, I can take 1, 2, 3, 4 of these and almost in the same space give him 4 flavors of frozen desserts for every tub of Haagen-Dazs. So that's fantastic. Yes. Yeah, they do have lids.
They have those lids that the people at the restaurants won't put back on.
And don't sell to supermarkets. I mean, I can't tell you the number of customers. I turn customers away because I'm trying to make them successful. And when I hear just a disaster, I tell them. And I hide behind the fact that I'm a New Yorker. I'll give you an opinion on anything. They tell me they've got a CB350 and they just got their ice cream into Whole Foods. They immediately want to go out and buy a 44 quart, $38,000, $39,000 machine. And I'll tell them, no, it's gone to your head. It's a big deal. You go to a cocktail party and say, my ice cream's so good it's in Home Depot. Not Home Depot, Whole Food. I don't want to be in Whole Food, because Whole Foods' MO is they'll bring in 5 and they'll all give you freezer space quite easily, easy to get into Whole Foods. And then they sit back and watch and see who wins. And you're up against 4 other companies, and if you don't win, you're out. But the ego, that desire to go to a cocktail party, in my case, it would be McDonald's, to go to a cocktail party and say, oh, my machines are in every McDonald's. That made me feel good in ego, but I'm losing my shirt because they wanted the machine so cheap and they want service 24 hours a day. Supermarkets work on a 2% margin. That means for every dollar a supermarket pulls in, they make 2 cents profit. So I can be in the supermarket for 3 years, and I'm doing great. Jeff comes along, and he's 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents less than me. They never heard of me. There is no such thing as loyalty. I'm out the door, and Jeff's in there. But
Plus, I'm on a lonely country road with no other stores around me, and you can't even see my store at night because it's so dark there. So there.
you had to knock on the door and go, Joe sent me. Yes.
So Jeff, all your storage is in 1 gallon containers then?
Yes.
So that's how you can get away with not having the blast freezer because it's freezing just as quickly as
Sure.
the
Of course.
blast freezer?
Of course.
Just the size?
Of course.
No.
Of
The
course.
1 gallon container is a good idea. But that thing, that chest freezer was designed for you to bring home frozen pizzas, frozen green beans. They're already frozen. The work has already been done. I can show you quite easily. I can fill that cabinet up with warm ice cream, which is 20 degrees. Warm ice cream, I can fill it a third of the way, and by tomorrow it'll be nicely hardened. That's good. But if my volume is such that I need to fill that thing halfway or 3/4 of the way, that temperature is going straight up. You try taking a lot of fresh-made soup and put it in your refrigerator warm and see if it doesn't take the whole refrigerator up to 60 degrees in about a half hour, and it doesn't come back down quickly. So yes, you can do it. I recommend when you're starting out with a CB350, I agree with Jeff. But when you get to the second cabinet or the third cabinet, it's time to relook at
I make
what you're doing.
100 gallons of ice cream a week.
13 cabinets.
I make 100 gallons of ice cream in a week. Did we have any problem fitting it into inventory? We had our choice where to put it. We make double batches. We never put them in the same place. It works smoothly.
You just said my point. I just said you can't put all your ice cream in there because the temperature will go up, right?
No.
Can you put 50, 60 gallons of ice cream in that cabinet today?
Sure.
And it won't warm up?
No,
No, it'll warm up.
it won't.
I'll bet we've put ice cream in there right now. I'll bet you that cabinet's not 10 below. I'll bet you it's plus 10.
The ice cream is freezing as it should.
It's developing ice crystals because
No,
it's freezing too slow.
no, I won't have
It will.
that. I won't have that. It's not developing ice crystals.
I didn't see not one ice crystal in his ice cream.
And did you see him fill the whole cabinet with ice cream?
Yeah.
Completely?
When we started in the morning, it was pretty well empty.
And when did he
wasn't
sell
it?
the ice cream?
What?
Did he sell it out that night?
We can. No, we didn't sell it out,
Okay.
but we'll sell it out within a week.
That cabinet can't do it. It's a quarter horsepower. I'm using 3 horsepower.
You get in there, I'll close the lid. Let's see how long you survive. Let's see how long you stay nice and toasty
Let
warm.
me just tell you, when I come out of there, I'm going to be mad as hell.
It'll be frozen in an hour.
Thompson
No
popsicle.
more talking.
Okay. What are we doing now?
We're going to eat.
A lunch? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough of this lovemaking. Let's eat.
Okay. So there you go. You see both sides of the story, the right side, the wrong side.
Yeah. The right side and the insane side.
Plain as day. Plain
Couldn't
as
be
day.
more different.
So thanks. If you have any more questions, you just ask them anytime.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay?
Yeah. And then we're going to have lunch. Huh?
I said, so we're back to square one.
Yeah.
No, we're not at square. Unless
Now
you listen to him, you're at
you
square
do your
one.
own homework and you look at your own
If you
store
want
and
to
you see
make
what's
money,
best for
have
you.
a great life, do what I do. Simple. Do what I do. You won't spend a lot of money. 15 grand. Imagine getting into business, $15,000 with a brand new batch freezer.
We're in a whole different.
No, you're not. You're on this planet just like everyone else. It
All right, let's eat. Jack, you want to take down our mics? Thank you. If y'all want to have a seat, we'll answer some questions for you. I hope you have questions. Then then we'll break for lunch. You're in the. I didn't have the strength to bring in 3 more chairs.
What?
I didn't have the strength to bring in 3 more chairs. They're heavy. But I brought a dog.
No, that's a well-behaved dog.
Didn't you hear the guy? Don't go petting strange dogs.
All right, you want to lead off?
Okay. All right. Take your seats. And put your phone away.
You can tape.
All right. This is the part where you get free learning. So any questions you have about product, business, location, anything to do with what your future is going to be. Wherever you picture yourself a year from today, you probably have some questions about it. So ask. We'll either tell you what we know or we'll flub our way through it. And look at those hands shoot up.
Everybody knows what they're doing.
Yes, sir.
When you were making the cream ice there versus ice cream, is that dipped at the same temperature? Do you need two separate dipping cabinets for that?
That's a good point. The question was, when we made cream ice, does it dip at the same temperature? Obviously not. And he asked, do you need separate freezers? My philosophy is, you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Take your best shot. Open up a store that sells one product. That's just my philosophy. I have an ice cream location, and I make really good ice cream. And about 5-6 years ago, I know that since my friend has this cream ice store, I said, well, I can make great ices also, and great cream ice. So I made a batch in one of my classes of cream ice, and it was great. So I made a larger batch, and that night I put free buckets of it on each table. Not buckets, free dishes of it on each table with spoons, and said, help yourself and see what you think. Well, the end of the night, as people are leaving, a few of our regular customers, I would ask them, so what'd you think? And the reaction was 100% consistent. And it was always, eh. Now, I know I made great ices. I know it, because I know the business. But it was this. And I finally got to the bottom of it, and the reaction and the explanations were, after trying your full ice cream, everything else tastes like water. And that's what they didn't like. Now, if you open up from the beginning and that's what you sell, I think you're in good shape. But I don't think mixing is fine. Italian ices, even the best Italian ices are going to taste like water next to your ice cream. Does that answer anything? Well, no. What temperature? I don't know. What temperature?
10 degrees. And Italian ice is 16 degrees. And of course, since it's Jeff and me, I disagree with him completely. I think that a frozen dessert business, and Jeff can argue because he's very successful, he's got a very unique business, it's a very unique situation. But for the most part, you're in the frozen dessert business, and I think just selling ice cream would be like me having one size batch freezer. What if you can't afford that size? Or what if you have a need for another size? That's why I have 6 different sizes and 42 variations. I think a mistake would be to sell ice cream and hot dogs. They're not related. Or ice cream and cold sandwiches. There's no connection. Or even ice cream and coffee I'm not really a fan of. They say that coffee suppresses your taste buds for ice cream. I would have ice cream, ices, dairy-free, and I think I'd stop there. I wouldn't go any further.
What about Jell-O?
I wouldn't have Jell-O, and I wouldn't have yogurt, but I would have some variety. I run the risk of, being a clothing store and you only sell blue suits. Well, what about the person who wants a brown suit or a seersucker?
No, let's deal with apples and apples. A clothing store selling clothing, or on the side you've got French fry concession.
True. Good point.
So clothing is clothing.
All right, I'll find a new analogy.
Ice cream. It's not as though I only sell vanilla ice cream. I have 40 flavors of ice cream, but I think selling those different products, they're going to pale by comparison to your ice cream. Not because your ice cream is so superior, but ice cream is a 10 to 16% butterfat situation, and ices and cream ice is mostly water.
On a hot summer day, nothing is more refreshing than an Italian ice. In this Florida heat, that's why we run 10% fat as opposed to 16 like we run in New York. Because a 16%, you're going to have to leave. A 16% is just too heavy on a hot day. But Italian ice is very cool, very refreshing. I think it's a great alternative.
I think I'll jump in just for a second because this is something that I have given quite a bit of thought to and asked a lot of people, how they decide what to carry and what percentages. And a lot of people are a lot of times your shop is constrained by space and the kind of equipment that you have, which is why sometimes it makes sense just to have one dipping cabinet at one temperature, and then whatever you can sell in that dipping cabinet is what you sell. Which is actually why we.
Aaron, would you have a free moment
when we
later
first
to
started
take
out,
her
we had a
out?
different formulation that you had to have it a little warmer. We actually reformulated our dairy-free mix so that it could go down to 5 degrees or even a little lower. It'd still be scoopable. So you don't have to worry about having a whole separate dipping cabinet, which that can be a deal breaker. So I think it's a judgment call both from a marketing standpoint, which there absolutely is. Some people have an all dairy-free ice cream shop. Some people have only dairy. And there's also the practical considerations of equipment.
Is there any product that you carry that you could add to the mix to make it a little bit more richer in terms of creamy?
You can experiment. So the question was, in general, with any mix, can you add other ingredients to make it creamier? And the answer is yes. So whether it's a traditional dairy ice cream mix or whether it's our dairy-free mix, you can add ingredients to make it creamier. With dairy-free, you might consider adding additional coconut milk from a can. We don't have recipes that specifically give guidelines for that, but I know that some shops out there are doing it. The reason we don't necessarily recommend doing that, and I think this would also apply to dairy mix, is that that's going to be one of the most expensive things you can do is to add additional fat to the mix. So if the customers are happy, unless you have a specific reason why you need it to be a different consistency, then I would say just stick with the original formulation.
Are you saying that to your gallons of mix?
Yeah.
It's the difference between that in consistency and end product consistency is the fat?
The difference there are several factors that influence the consistency in the finished product. So fat would be one of them. The sugar content would be another, which that could be you can adjust the sugar content in a lot of different ways. And then of course the other ingredients that like the stabilizers also influence the final consistency. So I don't like to mess with it too much because with any mix, whether it's a dairy mix or a dairy-free mix, it's formulated to be a certain way. And if you start tweaking it too much, you might have unintended consequences. But it's kind of like Steve was saying, though. You can just throw things in there, and it's going to work out most of the time. So I don't like to tell anyone not to experiment. That's my policy. I say go for it, try a batch. If you like it, run with it.
Okay, Liz.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the main difference between gelato and ice cream is.
Gelato is an 8%, right? A 6-8% butterfat product churned slower. So in effect, what they're trying to achieve is a denser, creamier product.
And the flavors are different. We are vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, Oreo cookie, Mississippi mud pie, all different things with whatever we can think of to come up with. They are very strict. They're hazelnut, pistachio,
Italian stuff.
Fruta Tabasco, which is mixed berries, tiramisu. And my problem with that, our machines, I have a setting on it for which nobody else has that just says gelato. And it'll take it right to the speed that we want to run gelato at, which is quite low, 140 RPM. So you can absolutely make it. Unless every fifth person walking in or every third person walking in and said, do you have gelato? And you say, no, I'm sorry, and they walked out, I wouldn't be adding gelato. My biggest problem with it is in a typical store, you've got all age ranges. And again, I'm looking at the baby boomers, what we buy, and I'm looking at the millennials, the next biggest group to come along, and I'll throw the Gen Xers in with the baby boomers. So they're walking in, and the Gen Xers, my children, and the millennials will soon be having children, and it is that age group who really drives a lot of most ice cream parlors. And I have yet to see or hear anybody say that their 5-year-old daughter pulled on their mother's dress and said, Mommy, could I please have a tiramisu gelato?
I think you're really limiting the market. When gelato was big and it was pushed by the Italians, and of course it was pushed by Cappigiani and Taylor because they had Italian machines, when it was at its height in the early 2000s, gelaterias were opening up everywhere. And for the most part, and everybody can find an exception, so don't write me, for the most part, they all failed. And one of the reasons they failed is because the flavors were too narrow. The three of us walk in, and Nate wants a tiramisu gelato. Jeff wants Cookie Monster ice cream, and I want a cherry Italian ice. In this case, they're advertising themselves as a gelateria. They're basically telling us, we'll serve him, but you two go away. We don't have anything. How can you turn away 2/3 of your business? The other thing that went wrong with gelaterias is over in Italy, when I was in Milan, at 10:30 in the morning, you could go get a tiramisu, or you walk into the gelateria and they say, oh, I'm sorry, we ran out of tiramisu a half hour ago. And the Europeans will shrug their shoulders and move on because they know there's another gelateria just out of the next corner. They'll get it there. There's no brand loyalty. People come to Jeff because they are loyal to his business. So if he always has on his menu, say, bourbon vanilla, he can't say tonight, oh, I'm sorry we're out of bourbon vanilla, because I'm going to be really upset. I wanted bourbon vanilla. But that's what went wrong with gelaterias. And it still holds true today. And I can see from the crossed arms that you don't believe me and that you're going to do gelato.
That's why I don't like gelato, because they have these funky flavors, and I never really found a flavor.
With an Emery Thompson, if people ask for it, you can make it. And that's the beauty of it.
But honestly, like what we just ate, if you ramp that down to the 150 or whatever the gelato speed was, wouldn't that be gelato?
Yes, it would. I have personally changed gelato a lot. The other thing was they made it fresh every day. And, if you're making it fresh with the willingness to run out, that's fine. That's the European model. The American model is, I only get over to Fruit Loops, once every 5 years, and I want that bourbon mint ice cream or whatever flavor. And if Jeff has run out, I'm going to be really upset. I've been thinking about it for a year. I can't wait to taste it. And then he tells me I'm out.
And you'll get something else and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So Americans keep an inventory of their product. The Italians just say, oh, we're out of that flavor, but try another flavor. That doesn't usually work in the United States.
Just remember, 1 second, young lady. Just remember, I say this every month. There are 6 billion people on this earth.
Yeah.
Every single one of them knows ice cream. Whether they're 6 months old or 100 years old, they know ice cream. Whether you go to South Africa, whether you go to Antarctica, whether you go to California, wherever you go, they know ice cream. Ice cream is dessert. They love ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream. There isn't another product on the face of this earth that is as widely acceptable as ice cream or widely desirable as ice cream. So think about that when you open up your
place. Which makes it the perfect business to go into.
Of course. It's a no-brainer. There isn't another product that you have a customer base of every single human being. It doesn't exist.
And to also, to your question, there are even lots of ice cream shops that I've come across where they'll run essentially more of a gelato product. I'm talking about dairy. They'll take a dairy ice cream mix, they'll run it lower overrun. It's essentially got the texture and the mouthfeel of a gelato, and they're still advertising it as ice cream because they know that people don't know what gelato is. So you can have a unique product, but you're still doing better off if you just call it ice cream.
I want to take a minute and tell you about the other gigantic thing that I see happening in our industry. Just like there was craft beer and that we changed the culture of, well, I'm not just going to deal with a 6-pack of Bud. I've got to spend $11 or $12 and get this craft beer that's only made in Brooksville, Florida in small batches. The same thing is happening with ice cream. Ice cream parlors are becoming even more popular than they were. Jeff is right, everyone wants ice cream, but we're even more popular than before because the discretionary income of the millennials, they're saying, well, I want a really great quality frozen dessert. And so Haagen-Dazs, I was just checking yesterday, Haagen-Dazs is at $5.13 a pint. So is Ben & Jerry. That it works out to about 35 cents, about 35 cents an ounce, I think it is. And that's a pretty high price. But that has become the norm. And what I see what has happened is I'm driving home tonight and I say to myself, bad term, self-gratification. I'm going to reward myself. I had a great day today. It was a wonderful class. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to stop and buy myself a pint of ice cream. And I'll get one for Paula because it wouldn't be fair to come in. So the pint of ice cream is $7. And I could buy a half gallon of Breyers for $3.49 on sale. I will spend the $7 because I'm worth it. It's a reward. And of course, I have to bring one home for Paula. I was at Penn State teaching in January, and I brought this up. And I said, why isn't Haagen-Dazs, for example, sold in half gallons or gallons? And they said, because you'll pay $6 or $7 for a pint, but you won't pay $28 for a gallon of it. You go, $28, I got to rethink this. I'm not worth that. So the pint business is going up dramatically. Now, imagine I walk into your store, and here's where we're selling the ice cream. We've got different flavors of ice cream. Maybe we have some other things going on like milkshakes. I compare it to Starbucks. You've got too many people in line that want a mocha latte, this or that, and I just want a black coffee. Well, I just want to run in, grab a couple of pints, and go. So over here, back at this area, they have just a freestanding cabinet that's filled with pints of ice cream and a sign that says what the flavors are. And I can run in. There's just a cash register right there. And the person who's serving the banana splits, excuse me for 1 second, he says to the person they're serving, runs over here, usually credit card, swipes your card. Would you like a receipt? No. Would you like a bag? No. I'm just going to run. And I grab my 2 pints and I leave. Well, I've interrupted that sale over there, but everybody in line over there is going, whoa, look at that. I can run in here at 5 o'clock and just grab a pint real fast and get out. I don't have to stand in that long line waiting. And they're going to remember that because they're going to do it someday too. So the pint sale business is going through the roof. Last video that we talked about this awful product, Halo, which is just nothing. It's a terrible tasting ice cream. But they're promoting it in pints and they're saying, oh, you can eat the whole thing. Well, I predict Halo will go away because it's just not a great product. But ice cream parlors that are also offering pint containers everyone who reports back to me says the business is just great. So we've got 2 major changes going on in the frozen dessert business from my standpoint. I've got 37,000 customers in 171 countries, and a lot of it here in the United States is what I hear is pint sales and dairy free. That's pretty exciting to have 2 major things going on in the industry. And I don't think either one of them are fads. I think they're trends. Yes?
Just what you said about the kind of higher quality ice creams, isn't that one of the reasons not to mix your product? Because I get the fact from an economic, from a business standpoint, like Daimler Chrysler, Mercedes-Benz and Chrysler, they don't mix the products. They don't have ice cream and Italian ices. They don't have Mercedes and Chryslers together. There's a reason for that. There's a strategy for that. There's a perceived perception, as Jeff had said, what you can charge for ice cream over what you can charge in Italian ice. So if you have them both and you come in, people are going to tend to drift more towards the lower costing product, so your sales on your ice cream are going to drop. You know, I would favor having 2 separate shops, having a factory where you're making both products, but you're not intermingling on the same lot. You have separate places where you do it. The car business, that's how they do it.
Okay, so you're talking about, you're disagreeing that I want to put ice cream and ices in the same store. I think my basic premise there is nobody walks into that frozen dessert business with a value judgment of how much they're going to spend today. I mean, the sky's the limit. They will buy what they want to get. It's not that the ice costs less. If I was in Jeff's position, I would agree with him, and I'd charge the same for an Italian ice as I would for the ice cream, and just make it the best darn Italian ice
No,
that you
they're
could
still
have.
not going to buy it. And they're
What
not going
about
to
the
like it
sherbet?
when they buy it.
What about the sherbet?
Same thing.
You don't do sherbet either.
No.
Yet that product was fabulous.
Of course it was fabulous, but I'll tell you what, give everybody a bowl of sherbet, give everybody a bowl right next to it with full ice cream, the sherbet's in the trash.
I'll say they'll take both.
Oh no, the sherbet's
Yeah.
in the garbage.
In fact,
and I also disagree with you on the pint sales.
you know what? There is a company that we helped put in a business called Rita's that is selling something. It's a made-up name called a gelati. And
Ices with the ice cream.
It's a made-up name. When I was growing up, it was called a parfait, and that's a parfait glass. And we would go to Schraff's in New Rochelle, an old-time company, H.G. Shattuck, and they would put some of that orange sherbet in the bottom, and then some old-fashioned hard ice cream, and then orange sherbet and old-fashioned hard ice cream, vanilla. And that was a beautiful presentation called a parfait, and you could get anything you wanted for it. You could charge $7 for that today. And it's just very attractive, very unique, and very different. So I disagree that you can't mix the products. I think that's
No,
just
you're not
narrowcasting.
mixing the product.
No,
you're
he's saying,
putting
he's saying
another.
I can't sell them in the same building.
You can't. You
No,
can't. That's not what that is. What this is a separate product that you're not going to separate the two. This is a separate product.
Yeah. Well,
So they're going to buy a parfait, but they're not going to buy ices in an ice cream store.
my sales, because I saw a lot of machines, more than anyone in the world, my sales show that people are doing ices and ices together and doing phenomenally well, and no one, except you, has ever said, I think they're going to pick one over the other because of the price.
Got to be somebody who's right.
Well, I'll bet my sales on it.
Not going to work. Not going to work.
Yes?
You had mentioned Rita's just now, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, is like a Rita's Jeremiah's type of concept. To be able to make anything creamy and smooth and iced like the Jeremiah's, like your machine.
I taught Jeremiah. I taught him how to make his product. What makes Jeremiah's is the better of the two products.
I agree.
It's interesting. Italian ices are just so simple. And I can do it with a roadmap. If you're up in New York, my formula for lemon ice on a bigger machine is going to be 7 pounds of sugar, 14 quarts of water, 2 quarts of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and the zest from 6 lemons. Best Italian ice you've ever had. You go down the Jersey Turnpike to Philadelphia, and the name changes from Italian ice to Italian water ice. That's what Rita sells, and that's what Jeremiah sells, though he calls it Italian ice. And the only difference in that formula is we go from 7 pounds of sugar up to 8 pounds of sugar. The extra pound doesn't necessarily make it sweeter. It's not enough in a course of 6 gallons. It does make it smoother. And then I can go back to New York. I could go down to Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn, where everybody speaks Italian, and I'm going to have a very coarse Italian ice, crunchy even. And that's called Granita or Granite. And that is not 8 pounds Philadelphia. It's not 7 pounds New York City. It's 6 pounds in that one street in Brooklyn. So the sugar, one simple thing controls the texture of the product. Not the machine, not the flavors, not the formula. It's just so easy. It's great. Yes?
My question is about freezing. What temperature should it be when it comes out of the back freezer? What temperature should the freezer be that it goes into?
What temperature should it be when it comes out of the freezer?
For
It
what
depends
product?
Ice cream.
Okay.
Oh, well, it depends on what you're going to do with it next. I'll let Jeff take this one because he uses it right away.
So, Jeff, I have 2 dipping cabinets, and I have a freezer similar to that. And I've heard hardening cabinets and all that. And I don't have an unlimited budget, so I'm trying to figure out if I need more freezers or what I
The
need.
reason you don't have an unlimited budget is because you wasted a lot of money on hardening cabinets and dipping
I
cabinets.
don't have any hardening cabinets, and I have 2 used dipping cabinets.
Okay. Well, what temperature? I keep my ice cream in the back in inventory at, -5 or so, -3, -5. Yeah, -3, -5. And then when we bring it up to the front, it's the same temperature because it's regulated by the fact that the freezer opens and closes hopefully 200 times a night. And that's what keeps the ice cream at a good serving temperature. Probably brings it up to what, 5, 6, 7 degrees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, so it depends on how you're going to sell it. We're not going to get into the hardening cabinet argument again, but the only reason for a hardening cabinet is inventory. If you need more inventory, let's drop the word hardening cabinet and say a walk-in freezer. The only reason I need a walk-in freezer is I need 50 times more ice cream than I did when I first opened.
Okay.
That's the only reason you start with a chest freezer. Look at this. I'm agreeing with Jeff. You start with a chest freezer, and then you buy a second one, and then you look at your business and see how it's growing, and you buy appropriately. If you were opening up a moving company, you wouldn't start with a tractor trailer. You'd start with a Dodge Caravan and go from there.
So I'm okay with something like that?
You're fine. You're fine with a Sears chest freezer.
Okay.
Only one little caution. Sears has them. Home Depot has them. Make sure they're rated commercial.
Okay.
There's no difference between commercial and homemade until the store burns down. And then the insurance company says, well, you weren't in, there's a clause in your insurance policy that said you couldn't have any homemade items, mechanical items in your store. I had that happen in Wisconsin. I was shocked.
Now, do the Italian ices have to be frozen and served at different temperatures than ice cream?
Depends on how you're serving it. If
Yes, always a different temperature than ice cream.
it's warmer. It's my ices with no chemicals whatsoever, just sugar, water, and flavor. I scoop at 16 degrees. But I could pull them out of the batch freezer and start serving right away if I had to.
Okay.
It's not practical, but I could.
So I really have to have two different dipping cabinets if I want ice cream and Italian ice.
Again, depends on the volume of the store. If you made it all at 5 o'clock tonight and you're going to run out by 9, probably not.
Just a question. Why do you feel the need to have both? What was your answer? What would your answer be?
Italian ice and ice cream?
Yeah.
I don't feel strongly about it. I'm just going by what Steve says it sells, because that's what I care about, what sells. That's all I care about.
That's all you care about?
Yep.
So you would bring in a line of women's shoes also. I'm not being facetious.
No, you are being facetious.
Well, okay. But my point is, you want what sells.
Right.
Well, either one of them sells.
Right.
My point is that both won't sell.
And my longer track record than his shows, and much more dense depth, shows that they do both sell. Yes?
So I think the products that we've eaten so far that we saw you guys making is Italian cream ice, right? Which had you added a quart of mix when Jeff did his, and when you did, you added like a substitute to, dairy. The Italian ice, which should have like no cream at all.
That's right.
The flavor, water, and
Sugar, water, and flavor.
that I feel like someone who's like, could you call it like a dairy-free product?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, technically.
It is a technically dairy-free product. Dairy-free frozen dessert. You're not going to call it dairy-free ice cream.
And I'm just, high level thinking is like, if you put Italian cream ice with ice cream, it will, compete and might, like not work. But if you put like just Italian ice, which is like a sorbet, like, like no cream at all, and you put it next to ice cream, somebody who does not want dairy and want like
Now, there's an intelligent observation. You could, I get people asking me for dairy-free in my store, and I don't have dairy-free. But if I had one small, like your little
dipping cabinet there,
of Italian ices, that's dairy-free. But I choose not to do that.
Do you plan on making any today?
I'm sorry?
Do you plan on making any today? They just Italian ice?
No.
Is that on the agenda now?
No, because we're showing you all the techniques. The only difference is to leave out the cream. You've seen in 2 different batches, 3 now, how to do it.
You want to make Italian ices?
No.
I could do it.
No, I keep on your schedule.
Okay.
Because your stuff's so good.
I think the analogy would be to, so like this burger place, BurgerFi. So they have all burgers, and then they might have like one chicken sandwich. And I think the same thing, like if you want to decide to do ice cream, you can maximize your ice cream and then have a little chest for your...
Chick-fil-A has no burgers.
And so I just think that, and the only reason for that is because I do agree that dairy-free is a very, very big thing. It's a very big
Subway has no hamburgers.
One other thing that we're leaving out of the mix is Italian ices are seasonal. They're May 1st to Columbus Day. You can't
Great
sell
point.
it. You
There
can't
you go.
sell it in the winter. So yeah, it's going to go away in January and February. There'll be no sales.
Yeah.
It could be 85 degrees down here in Florida in January, and the only person who's going to buy it is a New Yorker in shorts, and it's 45 degrees out.
There you go.
And
That's a great point.
That's a
a great point.
It's a seasonal product.
Well,
and
even-
what we
yeah.
do with what we do with the dipping cabinet in the wintertime? We sell novelties. We make ice cream cakes or pies. I was going to make a pie today. I forgot.
I think,
I'll make a pie.
if you
Okay,
look at
I got
what
it.
works, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to look at what are people doing that's working? What are other businesses doing? And also, what do you want to do? Do you have a personal preference? If you don't have a personal preference, I think it makes sense, like Steve is saying, look at what people are doing, look at what your customers are doing. When we look at what our customers are doing, a lot of them will have a heavier rotation of Italian ices compared to ice cream in the summer. And in the winter, they'll sub out more of the Italian ices with dairy-free ice creams or dairy-free gelatos, however they want to market it, using our mix. So it's a creamier option for those colder months. But they never completely eliminate either of those options, or all three of them rather. And that seems to be pretty common across how a lot of shops work.
Well, I'm not going to, back to my argument, I'm not going to say you're not going to sell both products. You are. What I'm saying is you're not going to maximize your higher costing product, which is your ice cream. Because, I've lived a long life. I've done a lot of things. I've got several businesses. Price does matter. And if someone comes in and you've got $6, whatever,
Right.
pint ice cream.
Or
is
$3.
and then $3-4, you're going to sell both. There's going to be people coming, I want ice cream. But to Steve, your people are doing it. What you really need to do is tell them, stop doing it, break them out, do it for a year, and then come back and tell me, were you more successful? Because with that lesser price product, you're not going to sell as much ice cream as you could. You're better off having two separate places.
Because when somebody walks in the door, they're going to buy something.
Yes.
So why not sell them the expensive something?
Yeah.
If given a choice, of course they're going to buy the lesser price.
Yeah, just like if you go to buy a Mercedes and they say, hey, you can buy that Chrysler
Right,
there for,
right.
we make both.
Made in the same
but-
factory.
Yeah,
you
buy the Chrysler, it's cheaper.
You keep coming back to the same analogy. I drive a Lexus, and so Lexus of Wesley Chapel just opened up a Lexus dealership where I'm now going. Right across the street, the same man who owns Lexus of Wesley Chapel owns Toyota.
Across the street?
No, same parking lot. It's all in a complex. And then in the third one, I think there's Scion or some other brand like that. People like a choice.
Different
But they're
showrooms.
different buildings,
Right,
different
different
places.
But
showrooms.
same campus. No, but the whole idea was to get you to that campus as opposed to one in Tampa or one in Clearwater.
It's one
If
more
I
lot.
might use myself,
Yeah.
my wife she's everything. I'm a vegan. And if we want to go into a store to get some ice cream or some frozen dessert, I don't want to go to two different places for me to get what I want and she go to get what she wants. I'd like to have it in the same place. So, I mean, how
You're opening up Italian ices. Where?
Newport Rich area.
Oh, perfect. You're year round. Yeah. There's somebody Newport. Oh, that's on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, it's just over here.
So
Right.
he's year-round, because I'm near him, so could I sell Italian ice in January?
In this part of the country, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and Miami.
Okay.
Anything south of North Carolina, you're fine.
What do you say we break for lunch? We have a great lunch for you,
Okay.
and then we're going to make some more products. And one more question, yes.
But the capacity for your 350, you can only go 7 quarts.
That's all.
That's all we know.
Yeah, if you want a bigger machine, go to the next one up. It does 12 quarts, and after that, 24, and then the world's largest, 44.
Jeff, you say you're open 4 hours a day, I think.
4 hours a night. Right?
How much time do you spend making your ice cream?
Well, I've gotten real good at it. I used to spend 3 days a week making ice cream. Now I can do it in one day. I can make 150 gallons in one day. As a matter of fact, I emailed Steve last week. I have a 24-quart Emery, and I was 2/3 the way through my day of making ice cream, and I had to stop and email Steve and thank him for enabling me to make 120 gallons of ice cream like that, without even worrying about the machine, not giving it a second thought. I have other things to think about, and I'm not look, he's a friend of mine. He really makes a great machine, but you all know that. That's why you're here. The machine is amazing, and it cut my production time actually 50%. That's why right now, I'm in the heart of season now. This is high season down in Florida, and I'm making ice cream 1 day a week. I can pump out 120 gallons. In slow time, I'll make ice cream 2 or 3 days a week because I'm only going to come in for an hour or two and make ice cream.
I'll tell you a quick story and then we'll break. There's a famous store in San Francisco, I think it's called Fenton's in Oakland. And I was speaking to the owner of Fenton's, and he's younger than me, but he's not a teenager. And he was telling me, when he was a teenager, when he was 17 or 18, he went to work for the original Fenton's making ice cream. And they paid him on a per hour basis to make ice cream. And he said, guys, you're killing me here. I need a bigger Emery Thompson. You got to get me. I can run 2 machines. Buy me another Emery Thompson. So they bought him a second Emery Thompson. Now he's making ice cream, and half the time his paycheck got cut in half because he's being paid by the hour. Yeah. He got back at him. He bought the company.
Yeah, I lay out my production, my production cards with all the flavors I need to make, because the girls write up on the board what needs to be, how much we have left. And I take my 6, 7 flavors and I arrange the production cards in order so that I can maximize my efficiency and not go from rum raisin to vanilla. That's not productive. But if I do them in a good order, then it's right away. Boom, boom, boom. And while I'm working on one, I've got the next one going and the next one after that. So I don't stop. I blast the music, I lock the door, and I just go for it. And it's a pleasure. It's a fun day.
Well, enough of all this pleasure.
Okay, let's eat lunch.
I'll take that.